who happens to be here today. What I want you to understand and what I want you to take out of what I say today is that when you treat a veteran, they're not the only one that's suffering. If they are suffering and they have a family, they are suffering right along with them. You cannot ignore the family in your treatment of the veteran, because when that veteran comes home, we can either walk right alongside that veteran or we can make it a lot worse. And I've done both. I met my husband 5 years ago. He was being medically discharged from the Army at the time. And I thought I really knew what was going on with PTSD because I am also a police officer with Kansas City, Missouri Police Department. But I had no idea. There's a difference between being a wife and being a police officer. And when you have to put that aside and be a police officer in your own home and talk your veteran out of a closet because he doesn't know where he's at, that line blurs. And it's a hard one. Last year in August, the day began like any other. My husband got up, got me coffee, walked me outside, and I went to work. He was going somewhere that I knew he would be safe for the day. We even talked on the way to work. He was in a great mood. We had recently started a nonprofit, so we were talking about that. And I knew I wouldn't hear from him for more than likely until lunchtime. But I didn't hear from him, which even when we're arguing is really strange, and we weren't that day. So I'm like, well, that's kind of weird. I gave him a call, no answer. I text someone where I knew he was at, so is my husband still there? It's kind of odd for me not to hear from him. Went about my business when I didn't hear from this person for about 45 minutes. I'm like, boy, something's really, really wrong. Had a horrible gut feeling. I don't know if that's just we get gut feelings or police officer training, I'm not sure. But I knew he was in terrible, terrible trouble. But I didn't know how to find him. I'm like, okay, so stop being a wife, put your feelings aside, and be a police officer. I can track his phone. So I'm like, okay. Tracked his phone and saw that he was out a dead-end road that there was no reason to be out. So what do? We go towards the danger, the trouble. Got my blue family over there. And I did, and I was driving towards where I thought he was at, and I was texting a friend, and she's like, you shouldn't go by yourself. I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm a police officer. I do this all the time. I got closer, got more nervous, and I'm like, this is not going to turn out well, Shawn. You really shouldn't go by yourself. And I'm like, well, I wouldn't go by myself on a call like this at work, so let me call phone a friend who happened to be an officer that I knew was close to where I thought my husband was, and he'd also went through the academy with me. He did not question my judgment at all. Hear me. He did not question my judgment at all. Why? Because I know my husband. We're with them 24/7. We know when something's wrong. He was supposed to meet me where I thought my husband was at. We were supposed to go in together, because that's what officers do, go in together. But when he trusted me, when I told him this was not going to end well, he wanted to save me from maybe what I would see. And thank goodness he did, because although I got there right after him, he saved my husband, who was not breathing at the time. And he was here today, thank goodness. But in that story, I tell you that because not only did he suffer and was he suffering, I stayed at home for 2.5 months. I was scared to death to leave my home and leave him. No one called me. No one. I did not want to leave him in my house. I was supposed to start school a few days after his attempt back to school to finish my bachelor's degree that I had always wanted. I'm like, there's no way you can do this now. I'm like, yes, there is. You do this for yourself. I went on, I started school, I finished my bachelor's degree. My daughter and I ended up on the dean's list together, which I thought was cool. She did not. I'm like, what are you talking about? That's a really neat thing. I graduated with a social psychology degree in May. I mentioned that we started a nonprofit. I continued that journey after his attempt because I did not want one other family member to feel so alone like I did. I wanted to give them a voice. I wanted them to know that to talk about mental illness and to talk about suicide is okay. To ask those hard questions is okay. And to continue with your own life is okay. And to do that, you succeed. And you can provide better care for your loved ones. I have to point out my co-partner in crime, as I call her, Rachel. Her and I have gotten this nonprofit off the ground called Caregivers on the Homefront. And it has been an amazing tool for me because if it was not for other caregivers, I would not be standing here because that's our tribe that we have to find, Daniel. We have to find our tribe too. And you have to point that out. So when you have a veteran that comes into you and they have a family, our booth is out there. They have to get care also. They cannot do this alone. I cannot do this alone. I have to have other caregivers in my court. Because there's not my family, they don't understand. Some providers don't understand yet. Some coworkers don't understand yet. We have resiliency, we have the strength, we have skills, and we can succeed even when our loved ones are struggling. But you gotta help us out too. See us too. When you see a veteran that's hurting, please see the family member that's behind them. Because there's also kids at home more than likely as well, and they're struggling too. So treat the whole family so that we can continue to strive together, not apart. I just started a master's degree program in social work, and hopefully we can build Caregivers on the Homefront even more and support more families, which alongside supports the veteran. Thank you.